Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we got another Over a Beer for you. And as most of you probably have heard, there's been some Diablo 4 leaks going around the internet. And we just want to sit down and talk about that because the three of us are pretty big, I would say, Blizzard fans. And I know at least Radin and myself are huge Diablo fans. So, without any further ado, let's get into this. So, for those of you who are unaware, we will link the original article down below, but there has been quite a few leaks on Diablo in general that have been going through the internet. A lot of them having to deal with how Diablo 3 had an expansion that was canceled, going all the way through multiple iterations on what Diablo 4 is supposed to be like, which I will say that Radin and I were correct about something. They just happened to cancel it, but we were right about something. And they go on to talk about other canceled games, specifically Project Titan, StarCraft Ghost, and even Diablo Immortal, and just mobile gaming in general.
Let's start with the canceled thing, because I think that is something interesting, kind of a window into how Blizzard is thinking about this. So what was the name of the project that was canceled again?
Hades?
Hades.
Yeah, Hades. So this was literally Diablo Souls, right? I mean,
yep, that's exactly
what it was.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. In the article, they said it was supposed to be a Diablo-themed Souls-like game.
And that's exactly what we were saying. I mean, the lore base, the art style, the combat style, like everything
the
about
old
it
art style.
screams. Yes, and that's something we could get into as well with how they're thinking about Diablo 4, right?
Yep.
But I mean, Diablo Souls, we kind of called that months and months and months ago, and it was. I mean, there were a few leaks, or not really leaks, but guesses at the time that people in the community were guessing about hiring. So there were job positions posted on the Blizzard website, and all of it led us to believe, based on the job descriptions, that they were making a Diablo Souls. And lo and behold, they were making a Diablo Souls, and they canceled it.
Yeah, when I first started reading this article and I saw that it was supposed to be a Dark Souls-esque Diablo, I started to lose my shit a little bit, and then it went on to say that it was canceled, and I got pretty bummed out. But, I mean, it just goes to show how Blizzard how many games they've actually canceled just because of it not being up to the quality of a Blizzard title. For those of you who are hell-bent on getting a Dark Souls-style Diablo, they have not for sure set on how the camera angle is going to be done in the next Diablo. They're going back and forth between the two, and they haven't decided which one they want to go with yet. So, I mean, you could argue that we could still get something kind of Souls-like, but I don't think it will be as Souls-like as Dark Souls, just because, I mean, Blizzard's all about accessibility, and having a game like that, they're going to cut out a huge portion of their audience.
Also, we see that they didn't actually get rid of this team or fire those people off. They just put them onto Rise of the Necromancer for Diablo 3 instead. So, I mean, those people they hired for those Diablo Dark Souls game are still there. So they could now be working on Diablo 4 since that Rise of the Necromancer is out.
Well, it's not even could be, right? We know that they are working on the quote-unquote Diablo 4. They haven't actually announced a name or a concrete direction for that project, but it is the next major Diablo game that they're working on that they should have teased at BlizzCon.
Definitely should have. Now, the leaks tend to lean towards what Blister was saying, more about a less Diablo or less Dark Souls-like and more open like Blizzard likes, is that they're trying to make this a more social game, as well as dark and gothic, but more social.
Well, I mean, they do have an game lead designer from WoW heading the current Diablo 4, for lack of a better name, right now. So, I mean, it makes sense that he would want to introduce like social MMO aspects to the game, which, I mean, I'm fine with it as long as it's still Diablo at its heart and soul, like Diablo 3 on initial launch was not. But I'm completely fine with, like, you're in town and you can see a whole bunch of people, and then when you go out of town, maybe you see a couple people here and there, but you don't really see too many. But at the same time, I mean, even if you see one other person, it could completely ruin the kind of experience that you're expecting to get from Diablo, because when you go out in the world, all the monsters are for you to kill or your party to kill.
So you want to play Path of Exile?
I actually think that Blizzard is trying to move away from the format a little bit and move back to their old art style. Now, that could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing, as you're saying, Blister, because if it gives you a different feel, maybe that feel is better, maybe it's worse, maybe it's the same. It's really hard to tell without a direction or an idea of what they're doing.
For sure, definitely. And I going back to that art style thing that you pointed out, I think it's really cool that for one of their core pillars of the Diablo game that they're working on now was saying that the art style being dark art style, like that was it, just dark. And they want to get away from this cartoony stuff, which is amazing because it'll separate itself more from World of Warcraft, because when Diablo 3 came out, it's not the same graphics, obviously, but it reminded me a lot of WoW because it was so much more cartoony than I was expecting, especially when you compare it to how Diablo 2 looked.
Right. I mean, Diablo is the adult game in the Blizzard franchise, right? So if you're targeting more of your adult audience, then why not actually go for it instead of kind of going halfway?
Because Activision.
Ha!
Yeah, so that's another point, is how they're talking about trying to get constant revenue from the next Diablo game, because Diablo 3, while it did make a lot of money, it doesn't have that constant stream of income like World of Warcraft has, and like Overwatch has, and like Hearthstone, and even Heroes of the Storm to some extent has. So how do you guys think that they're actually going to deal with that? Because, I mean, do you think it could actually break the game? Because it seems like it... I mean, Blizzard isn't really one, aside, unless you want to make the argument that Hearthstone is pay to win because you have to buy all the packs to get the decks you want. Other than that, there isn't any real pay to win in any of the cash shop options for any other Blizzard game, unless you count, I mean, the cards in Hearthstone, or some people would argue the character boosts in WoW, but...
Well, the fact that they're looking to make it more social, which means online, drives me to believe that it's probably be more cosmetic stuff, loot boxes maybe.
Ooh.
If that's working in Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm, if they're really not making a lot of money off of it, then we're probably looking at a cash shop with items.
Wait. Okay. Let's give a more non-bleak outlook. Maybe. Okay. You know how they're kind of thinking, and actually this is the direction that they are taking, where they're going to be combining their guild system between like Overwatch and World of Warcraft and all of their other games, so it's just going to be like a Blizzard guild system?
I actually have not heard about this. Please explain.
Oh, this is actually the biggest social feature that is coming to Overwatch next year. Like, we've been waiting for it for a long time. They've already said what they want to do with it. And they're basically going to be combining their guild system between all of their games. They said they want to integrate it with the Blizzard launcher. They want to integrate it between games, just like all of their chat features. And I think that makes sense. Like, guilds are guilds between games. They all kind of work the same. But what if they were thinking about their payment model that way too? Now, what's their most lucrative model right now? Or I guess it was. I don't know if it still is. It's their World of Warcraft subscription. Why not combine all of your online subscriptions into one service?
You mean like pay a monthly fee to be able to play all Blizzard games?
Only the ones that are like online only, like World of Warcraft. So maybe they're thinking about combining Diablo with that and having an all-online type of experience in the Diablo setting that is underneath that $15 a month with WoW.
That would be a really tough sell, I think, because the reason why World of Warcraft was able to get away with it is because they were constantly giving content updates, and they're still doing that. Like, you pay that $15 a month because every 2-3 months you're going to get a big content update, and you're going to get, like, fresh content to the game. When you're playing Diablo, I mean, yeah, sure, you'll get new seasons, and you'll get some new items added here and there, but you're not going to get a whole new act to the game added. You're not going to get a whole new mode of the game added. The only reason why we saw that kind similar stuff to that in Diablo 3 after Reaper of Souls was released was because they canceled the second expansion for it, and they're just like, yeah, release that stuff for free.
Yeah, it's just an idea because you asked about payment models, and I think that it matches the other patterns that we see Blizzard trying to do with their other game features. And it would be one way to kind of unify all of their games under the banner of quote-unquote payments.
Right.
And it would certainly give more content opportunities to Diablo as a franchise.
I don't know if Radit's crazy as you think he is. I mean, they would have to obviously push out more content. But, I mean, like the WoW people are already subscribing, so they'll definitely throw in an extra $2 a month or whatever if they want to do 15, whatever they do decide to do. And the people who want to play Diablo are like, hey, I can pay $15 a month and play Diablo and WoW. I don't have to pay extra for WoW. I think it could work, but I think they'd have to also sell the game and expansions like they currently do for WoW.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, it's just, Blizzard has to make money, is all I'm trying to say. And that would be a really good way to do it. And
they definitely can't start charging you to play Overwatch or Heroes because that will kill those two games.
Well, I mean, Overwatch and Heroes have their cash income. They have cosmetics that you can purchase, which is their cash income. People buy loot boxes in both of those games.
Yeah, but we think that. I'd be curious if they're actually making a lot of money off that.
There's a lot of speculation that has stagnated just because of how easy it is to get all of the items, and a lot of people aren't really incentivized by that.
I'm not going to argue that it hasn't declined, but I'm saying that is what those games' cash models are. That's how they have a constant income of money. And the more skins we see, I mean, look at League of Legends. I mean, that's all you can spend money on is skins. You could argue, sure, League of Legends has way more heroes, way more skins, but I mean, how much money do they make off of that game just on selling cosmetics through skins? I'm sure that Blizzard is making just enough money to get by for Overwatch and for Heroes of the Storm.
Anyway, maybe we should wrap this back into some of the more leaks. Some more of the leaks. The one that kind of caught my attention was on Project Titan. That it talked about that this is really kind of a black eye for Blizzard. And if you don't know, Titan was the MMORPG that Blizzard was developing that was scrapped and resulted in Overwatch. There's a couple things that the studio fears, or the management of the studio fears, that revealing games too early is kind of what killed this. I think that they should continue with this. I'd love to see what it was. I'd love to see more on it, but for now, all we get is Overwatch.
And they never actually came out and said that they were working on Titan. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that they even acknowledged that it was a thing.
Which is so weird. Like, for how involved the community is with Blizzard, like, they would do well to utilize that community's input.
Yeah, but I mean, I get where they're coming from, because I mean, think about how toxic some of these I'm not saying all fans are like this, but think about how toxic a community in general can be about a game, especially when they don't get what they want, or they think they're getting one thing and then all of a sudden it gets canceled. Like, think about how the reception was to Diablo Immortal. Everybody thought they were getting Diablo 4. Then they come out with this. Like, imagine if like that kind of, like, oh yeah, we canceled Warcraft 5 and now we're gonna come out with Warcraft on the go. Like, yeah. think of how that would be receptive, like how the community would receive that. It wouldn't be very good. So I mean, to play devil's advocate, I can see as to why they don't want to do that.
And the MMO community is pretty toxic in general about anything new, so
they're passionate, Nova.
They're passionate about games that they don't want to play.
I've never hated on an MMO ever.
Oh no, never. Something else that caught my attention though was the explanation for why they wanted to actually work on Diablo Immortal. And we found out that supposedly it's been in development for 2 years roughly, and it was from all those guys that were pretty much working on Diablo 3 for over 2 years through the multiple reboots, and they're just like, I don't want to develop a game for 10 years again. I want to do something quick and easy. Well, I mean, I guess 2 years really isn't quick and easy, but compared to 10 years, it looks like it is. I mean, that makes sense to me. And I know Raded is a programmer. I do some programming at work too. So, I mean, does that make sense to you as to, I mean, would you want the same kind of thing if you worked on one program for 10 years? Like, give me a break, let me work on something easy for a little bit?
Not if I was holding a position like that. No, I would want to work on more projects. I mean, there is something to be said for kind of like the cash cow type of programming. It's just like, do this for me. Okay, I do that for you. So like that's one type. But when you're doing artistic stuff, I mean, you don't paint the same thing 20 times in a row, right? If you're an artist. So like programmers feel the same way about their code.
I almost forgot that we also supposedly in January they thought there was going to be a demo ready for BlizzCon, and it come late spring they were like, no, the demo's not going to be ready, but supposedly they were still going to tease it. And then when they interviewed somebody who was involved with all the planning for BlizzCon, they're like, no, I didn't hear anything about that. That was never in the plans ever. It was just Diablo Immortal. So I really want to know, like, who has the truth here in this case? Like, was it actually supposed to be something and it wasn't, or were they just being hush hush about it? I mean, I don't know, but
depends what teams they're working on, right? Like somebody on the Overwatch team might not have any clue about Diablo 4 being close to demo stage or something. That story also gives me hope that Diablo 4 is really something different. Because if it's just another Diablo like we're used to, I mean, they already have the engine and shit. They can pop that demo out pretty easy, I would think.
Okay, as a programmer who works on a team who has to manage releases and PR and all that kind of bullshit, I guarantee you, if there was somebody on the inside who said, we plans to have a demo ready, I guarantee you that demo was plans to be ready and that was their intention. What they say now, if it contradicts that, it very likely is just like a lie to save face. I guarantee that.
So something else that we learned from the article that this goes back to the canceled projects thing, kind of, is they got a new accountant for Blizzard, and they're trying to cut costs now. And that's never been in like something that Blizzard worries about. I mean, cue in all the canceled games that they've had just because it wasn't going to be a quality product. What do you guys think about that? I mean, it seems like Activision is almost overstepping here and trying to say, hey, you made a crap ton of money off of this Overwatch thing when it launched, and since then you haven't really released anything. The biggest thing...
Whoa. You telling me that Activision is overstepping their bounds now, not when they took over the fucking Blizzard launcher and starts putting their games on there? That wasn't overstepping?
Well, now I do agree that was a little too far, but I mean, it's a lot farther now. I mean, it just seems like Blizzard's being pushed in a certain direction. I mean, they're being pushed to make all these quick games that can make a lot of money really quick. Because think about this too. If Activision is actually constantly pushing Blizzard to release these quality games just to get income, that would have been only 2 years of development for the reimagined version of Diablo 4 for a demo. That seems pretty quick for a AAA game of Blizzard standards.
Yeah, it's way too quick.
So, I mean, again, that's Activision overstepping, in my opinion.
No, I'm not saying it's not. It definitely is.
I don't think putting Destiny and Call of Duty in the launcher is quite as bad, because, I mean, I'm really not a Call of Duty fan, but at least they're quality games. They're not just complete crap. What worries me is that we start to see Fallout 76 style coming out of Blizzard, because the heads at Activision are like, just get the game out, we need money.
Yeah, and that's just not what Blizzard has ever been about. I mean, Blizzard, as that article was saying, or I don't know if it was that article or Riker that I was watching who said this, but 50% of all Blizzard projects that have ever come into fruition have been canceled. Half of all of their creative export has been canceled.
And that's not a good business model, I get that, but Bethesda also didn't put out crap games like Fallout 76 ever before. Yes, they've always had bugs, but Fallout 76 is literally a piece of steaming garbage.
Hashtag opinions.
So back onto Diablo. Diablo Immortal. Did you guys hear that apparently Diablo Immortal was supposed to initially only be launched in China? It was supposed to be marketed just for China for at least 6 months, and then have the possibility to be brought over to the US.
Yeah, I could see that as being spot on, because I mean they have a Chinese company making the game. It's basically a direct copy of a lot of popular Chinese mobile action RPGs. That means it's going to have a cash shop, because Chinese people love to spend money in cash shops. I think it's spot on. It's going to make Blizzard a bunch of money in China.
I definitely agree with that. It's going to be killer for them in China. I don't think it's going to do too hot over here, but
It'll probably even do okay over here. Like, there's something that we just have to face the music here on, guys, and that's that Blizzard is changing, or I should say Activision Blizzard is changing. Like, they started out as a PC only market, just like Valve did back in the day with the Half-Life series and Ricochet and all that stuff. Like, that was early game for these companies, and once they make it big, I mean, does Valve really make games anymore? No, they just do Steam because it makes them more money. And this is Activision Blizzard's way of kind of moving into their next phase. They're going to do things that make them money, and mobile games are going to make them more money. That's it. It is what it is.
man, I got so depressed listening to that.
You can't argue that, though. Like, dropping 50% of your time spent on, like, paying those guys 50% of your workforce to make stuff that never even comes out and makes you money is not a good business.
That's how artistic expression works, though. Like, you can't force it. That's the hard truth about this. That's why they canceled half of their projects. Like, artistic expression is very hard, and when your artistic expression is in like pixels moving on the screen that have to explicit emotion from people, that's even harder than just basic artistic expression. So it's not surprising that their model created some of the best games of all time. But at the end of the day, they're moving into their next phase, and we'll see what comes out of that.
So my last question for you guys. Do you think that this whole interview, or not really interview, but the leaks and everything for Diablo, do you think they're actually leaks? Or do you think it's Blizzard just trying to do damage control from the mayhem that they've caused with Immortal?
Ooh, I mean, that's too hard to say. Like, it could be a little bit of both.
I'm gonna go no, because some of the leaks, like we mentioned briefly, they're gonna make a Warcraft, or there's possibly working on a Warcraft mobile thing, and to talk about Activision really influencing Blizzard, so they wouldn't want to put that stuff out publicly.
Well, I mean, if you're the head of the company and you're used to doing things one way, and then all of a sudden you're getting told by another person from another company how to run your company when you're one of the 3 founding members of the company, wouldn't you be a little ticked off and say, you know what? Let's actually go and, say this publicly, but have it be a quote-unquote leak.
That would be quite a wave, dude. If that's actually what's going on, like, this is not the end of this whole Blizzard fiasco.
Anyways, I think that about sums up everything from that article. Like I said, it will be down in the comments below if you want to read more about it. But we do have some good news. We have Diablo 4 in the works. Possibly by 2020, we might even have the game in our hands. We'll see. Maybe next BlizzCon we'll get a demo. Who knows? Maybe we'll get an announcement before that. I'd be happy. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'd be damn happy.
Diablo Souls!
I'm hoping that they do end up going with the third-person over-the-shoulder perspective for it. But either way, I'm going to be happy with the game. I know I will be. They're talking about a much darker theme than Diablo 3, getting rid of all that cartoon crap. So we do have some good news on the horizon for Diablo. We'll try and cover all of that news breakage for you here on the channel. So make sure you guys subscribe so you can come back and hear about all the good stuff that Diablo is bringing forward. And as always, guys, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.
Later, everyone.
Cheers, y'all.
Hey, it's Radit here. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel. We put out multiple new videos each week and we appreciate all of your support. Thanks for watching everyone, and cheers.